Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, even though I was 6, there was something about Slave Leia. I was like, I feel funny when I look at it. I don't know why,
I,
but
I
the Empire and there was the rebellion, and you're like, I don't know why you guys are mad at each other. Use your words.
Grab control of a pod racer and hang on for the race of your life. You're Anakin Skywalker or Sebulba in a heart-pounding race for survival. Scream through Beggar's Canyon at 600. Better make that turn, because victory tastes a whole lot better than dirt. Have you experienced Star Wars? Pod Racer, each sold separately. It's your universe.
What are you guys doing?
Now you can feel like a Jedi with new Go-Gurt glow-in-the-dark lightsaber tubes. There's 16 different tubes for a limited time only.
Mom's gonna be back in 30 minutes.
Cool. 30 minutes.
Star Wars Attack of the Clones in theaters May 16th. You can grab Go-Gurt and go.
I can't get this open.
Allow me to help you, young one.
Thanks, mister.
May the fries be with you.
Star Wars Episode 3 toys are now at Burger King. There are 31 different toys you can collect. You can wind up General Grievous, race around with the Millennium Falcon, or make Yoda do a backflip. There's one in every kid's meal, only at Burger King.
well, folks,
Yeah.
welcome to Star Wars Day, and you will want to stay to the end of this video to see the outtake, blooper, off cut, whatever it was that got us to this point. We are on the clock because Ego and I have been delayed. We are here, man. Star Wars Day is here, brother. I know people have all their mixed feelings about Star Wars, good, bad, and sideways. I just look at, let's take a day to honor the fact that it all started on May 25th, 1977. There's good things that we can all share and talk about and enjoy. So as we get into it anymore, thanks for being here. But tell everybody a little bit about the first Star Wars experience for you. Like, where did this? Did you know the old films, prequel, whatever? Let's start with where you got started, brother.
Okay, so my dad got me and my brother started on it, and I was maybe 6 or 7 at the time, and we did watch them in the chronological 4, 5, 6 order. It's weird because I can only remember highlights for each movie, and it's maybe one scene, and it's like, well, hey, I remember the scene where they're pretty much in like the trash compactor in A New Hope.
Okay, yeah.
There's Luke lifting the X-Fighter out of the bog.
The X-Wing, yeah.
X-Wing, yeah.
Empire Strikes Back, okay.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, even though I was 6, there was something about Slave Leia. I was like, I feel funny when I look at it. I don't know why, but you know.
I will tell you, and I don't know that I've talked about this enough. And even this week, no, actually today, I have a card in the outgoing mail. The original Slave Leia trading cards. So
The
in
original.
90, yeah. So obviously from the OG trading cards, but even in the 1990s when they did all those new Star Wars Galaxy cards and all, those cards have always been among the best sellers for me. Always. Put Slave Leia in the title. Milking the absolutely. They will, to the point where I will actually kind of look to buy more. I'm not really out trying to flip cards. These are not expensive cards, but right. I wouldn't say no to inexpensive Slave Leia cards. So you are hardly alone, my friend.
Okay.
Ego's had a little
makes
thing
me feel
for
a lot
Slave
better.
Leia. Okay, that's a full confession hour off the couch stuff.
Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level, will ya? Do you copy? Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level!
No, shut them all down, hurry! Listen to them, they're dying, Art. I don't believe it.
That is why you fail.
Java no tusen di honkabi no bagan.
So you did have a little bit of the OT experience at 6 or 7 or
Yes.
so.
Mhm.
Not your thing from the sounds of things. Kind of not, not really connecting to you at all. But you got to be about the right age to be a prequel baby, right?
Yes, yeah. So I mean, I was
Okay.
like right at the. I don't know if I was born when Return of the Jedi came out.
That was
Maybe.
83.
Oh no, so okay, so I was 3 years after that then. So I mean,
So you were
still was
born in 83.
relatively. Yeah, that movie was relatively, I guess, fresh for that being out. So by the time I was old enough to comprehend a little bit of dialogue for movies, and like that's when my dad like just brought them home 4, 5, 6. I don't know if we did them back to back to back or he waited until we're like, okay, like, what's the next one? What's the next one? So it was just that there's a lot going on. And when you introduce to a child, you're thinking just the Earth and maybe ET because I've seen ET before. And I think that's what started it. So you're like, okay, aliens, that's cool. And then it's like you throw a child out to the galaxy far, far away, and you're like, what is happening? I don't like
Monsters,
the guy with the
creatures,
red
spaceships.
sword.
Yeah.
It was a lot, but I mean, I know my dad enjoyed it. So I was like, okay, so maybe I can enjoy it. There was a lot that was happening. You had the Empire and there was the rebellion, and you're like, I don't know why you guys are mad at each other. Use your words. You should be able to get along. Like, because that's how you taught conflict resolution as a child, But yeah, it's just that.
I'm sorry, this is before Ego's time, but I'm reminded of an SNL sketch with the therapy thing. It's like, you're good enough, you're smart enough. Use your words. It's like it's just ego with Vader on the couch. Like it's okay. Use your words. Let go of your pain and your past. Don't hold a grudge. Don't be that way.
Exactly. No, I mean I got how my dad enjoyed it, and just watching it, I did the only thing I think I understood as it went on was Luke becomes more mature so that when he faces Vader in Return of the Jedi, he's ready. And like, okay, I've seen that concept in other movies before, so I can recognize it in a trilogy. So that helped. But by and large, it was like I didn't understand the dialogue. I didn't understand the concept of the Force. And the swords moved really slow. Just, it was your turn. It made a cool sound. I liked that. But it was just like, I don't know if Zora wasn't out yet, but I think that they'd started the kind of faster paced combat at that time with weapons. And so if you compare it to Kung Fu movies and you're just seeing these guys just do this with swords like it's medieval times a little bit, it's like, why is it so slow? But I understand for when it came out that was revolutionary and pretty cool in itself. So it's just like it's a little bit of the disconnect because of when I saw it compared to what was out, and I'm trying to go back and watch a classic.
Okay.
That's all.
So you're 12 or 13 though by the time Phantom Menace arrives. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, it's the only movie that I made my parents make me go see twice.
Cool.
So in defense of everyone that has their thoughts about the Phantom Menace, I really loved it for the sake of it's. I see why when comic books try to renumber their number ones, like, and they get so many new fans interested, and established fans are like, oh, I can't stand this. But from the perspective of a new fan, you're like, oh, great, I get to be in on this at the beginning. I get to follow the story with everyone else. And if there's established lore, that helps too. But you're just excited that something's coming out and you can actually watch it in real time. So when Phantom Menace came out, I'm like, yo, I got to see this. I don't even know what a Phantom Menace is, but I want to see one. And at this point, you kind of understand how foreshadowing goes, but I wasn't thinking that. I know that that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I know that's Anakin, but I'm pretty sure this Qui-Gon guy's gonna make it. I can't wait to see where his story goes. He should get a spinoff. And I hadn't been that hurt since Simba died. Okay?
Wow.
When Qui-Gon took that saber to the gut, I'm like, what is happening right now? thought
It's
this
good
guy was
stuff.
supposed to make it. Yeah, it was great. It's just that I think that for what people said it lacked, and for all the controversies it had, it was fast paced. It had recognizable actors as the characters that are in Star Wars, and the choreographed scenes were fantastic. I mean, that what is it? Dueling of the Fates is the song of it,
Yeah, yeah,
or
Duel of the
yeah,
Fates. Yeah.
that is one of my favorite songs, and it comes from that movie. I was like, I don't know what they're saying, but I agree with it. This is when you'd want to have this song playing. It took it to another place for me. That I was like, wow, this is really up tempo and exciting. And I really enjoyed it. You know, just the progression of everything, even the parody song. It was the Weird Al Yankovic. I don't know if you
Yeah,
heard the song that he did.
of course. Yeah, I mean, he was already
Yeah.
parodying Yoda and stuff, so
Yes.
he's all about it. So, all right,
Yes.
so
So by the time, yeah.
we are going to be reviewing or revisiting Phantom Menace tonight when you're watching this video, folks. Tonight we'll be celebrating that 25th anniversary on a live stream here on the Pops channel, May 25th. That may be my last stream of the night. We'll see, but it will be.
All right.
So I won't totally give everyone my thoughts on Phantom Menace, but I'll say this. I took a lot of heat for liking the movie at the time. And what I mean by that was I felt the same way I kind of felt with Force Awakens. Like, it's kind of the same movie as New Hope, guys. It's kind of like the same structure. It's kind of got the same beats. It kind of hits some of the same moments. I mean, it's the issues that I had with Phantom Menace were, like most people, I thought the Jar Jar Binks thing was just so over the top silly. It was actually like a distraction. Like, it was so bad, right?
Yes.
I don't quite understand why George Lucas is treated as a great director. He is a great creative mind, but for some reason he wouldn't allow Natalie Portman and usually Liam Neeson to emote. There's not a lot of emoting.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of scenes with Natalie Portman as the queen. Like, why did we have to have her that way when we could, we saw her as Padme at times, but we saw. So that was one of the biggest things for me. That was a huge hang up. And then the biggest thing was just the fact that Anakin was so young. It was weird seeing that budding romance type thing, and then him being this great space pilot saving the day. He's like a child. Like, it was. I wish he'd just been like 13, 14. Just give me a few more years, and I think it would have worked better. But those are the gist of my kind of highs and lows. Darth Maul, when you see the lightsaber come out, the second blade, and more importantly, in the trailer, you saw Obi-Wan spin a lightsaber, which was the first time we'd seen anybody do that. This was such a big deal at the time. That trailer played, because trailers didn't play on every single movie like they do now. You didn't get to go see, a Disney movie and every single one of their products were on. No. The trailers were usually attached to very specific movies. And in this case, it was attached to the Color Psycho remake that had Vince Vaughn in it. That movie even exists, right? It's that bad.
Yeah, I did see that. He's a great dramatic actor. Before the comedy, drama's great.
Yeah. So I remember going in and watching that trailer. I'd go. I was at the theater to see something else, but I would walk in the auditorium just to see that trailer again, because that's the only way you could see it. It wasn't the internet yet. It wasn't. We didn't have, so. Yeah, Phantom Menace, though, I don't think there's any reason to apologize for loving Phantom Menace or being drawn in by Phantom Menace, because they did all those things you said, right? Had some great, and George said this, right? That when you came around to Star Wars, Obi-Wan is, a senior citizen. Darth Vader is a senior citizen minus 10 years, who's more machine now than man. So them being slow and methodical. That's why Luke was rapidly getting better, because he's young and vibrant, right? So when we flash back to Jedis in their heyday, we needed them to be fast and vibrant, able to do all sorts of crazy things. I think all that was your reaction. I think was pretty much what they were shooting for. So I think all that was fun.
And I remember that they put the dueling fates in the trailer too, and it would and it would cut off. You're like, wait, that's it? You really wanted more before you even got in the theater. I forgot about that. Yeah. That was.
Do you remember the toy build up in the front of every store in the planet? Like, you couldn't go in a Walmart without seeing, like, literally most Walmarts had the entire front of the store remodeled and stacked full of Star Wars merch.
Yes. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I actually bought any at that point, but I do remember toys were filled to the brim. It was just all Star Wars the entire time. It was a huge rollout too, because it was, hey, George Lucas, he's back. It's a prequel. I don't know what it was like for established fans to hear it. I just knew that for people that were wanting to watch it new and get on the ground floor, it was a very, very exciting announcement. I was all about it. And even
Well,
then, I
we
was like,
felt
you get to go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say we felt the same way. We hadn't had Star
Okay.
Wars for, you know, over 15 years. So that's why the toys were so bonkers, and everybody kind of like had the delusion of going to buy all these toys, just like the toy surge of the past. All these young kids will burst through them all, and we'll keep our set clean and whatever, and they'll be worth something. And I will say, if you talk to a toy collector, they're going to kind of laugh at the situation, but there probably are. And, well, I know there are some like nuggets in there that actually are worth something, but it's mass produced, just like everything else, right? Some of the stuff
Yeah.
just so matters. I mean, I remember though. I don't know if every Walmart had this, but I remember one of them, and maybe at a Target as well. They had a giant, like Naboo fighter type thing hanging from the ceiling over that area, like this massive thing to get your attention. And like I said, it was in the front of the store. It wasn't like you didn't have to go to the toy department in a Walmart for the opening of Phantom Menace. It was the front, like you know how you go into like one of those stores, they have like the optical section in the front of the store.
Yeah.
That whole area was toys. It was completely insane. Yeah.
I maybe a Toys R Us would have had it at that time that I can remember, but I do
Okay.
remember them doing. That's when that you could hang things, and that was the in thing to do for your advertisements. So yeah, I definitely remember that.
All right, all right. Where has it evolved for you now? Like, so obviously we've had the sequel movies and Star Wars, but you've never struck me as like a big Star Wars nerd, even with this gradual appreciation kind of thing.
I will say, it's. I can look back and say, hey, I understand what people were saying about the midi chloridians. That doesn't make sense to me either. It's like a weird blood test to show your levels for being force sensitive, and I think that was kind of the premise that they kind of tried to push even further. That hey, everyone's got a little bit of force sensitivity in them once you get to 7, 8, 9 episodes. And I was like, that was a terrible premise to kind of base it on. The fact that, it could kind of be inherited through birth, but it's like your dad would have had to have been Darth Vader for you to get kind of an inkling of that power or that force as a child and growing up. I guess the other thing for me is I did like they went back and said, we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. Because, as a child, you're like, why is Darth Vader so angry? And then you watch through 1 and particularly 2, where he's like, well, hey, you learn things can be taken from you. I think by, was it the end of 2 is when he finds out his mother's been murdered,
Mm-hmm.
and he just goes berserk.
Yep.
And you're like, he's at the right age in the right moment in his life where you want to rebel against authority anyway. You've got this power that few people have, so who's going to really tell you no? And you've been trying to do the right thing for so long, with the promise that I'm going to go back and take care of someone that's important to me, and you took them from me, and you didn't have to. So you're like, oh, I understand his rage. He's like 19, I think at that point, 19 or 20.
Something like that, right?
Like,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. And by the time he goes off the deep end, before he becomes Vader, you're like, wow, it's more of a steep descent, because I think they wanted to ramp it up because it was episode 3, but it was like, okay, this is how you can actually turn to the dark side and feel like you're left with no other options. And then the person that saves you is going to ask something from you in return. And now you're Darth Vader leading the Empire. You're like, wow, that actually is quite the story to tell. That's how you can actually fall. Okay, that's fine. I don't know if I know people have their own thoughts about it. And I think a lot of it didn't really change once you liked or disliked Phantom Menace. You weren't going to like, or you were really going to like the rest. I think that's how it was for people the way I saw it. It's like 1 was great. It had all the action, and for the fact that I knew that that kids were going to be a significant demographic of your audience, you did play well to the kid with the race. We don't know what space chariot races looks like, because that's what it was. And I'm pretty sure that people that have seen Star Wars have seen, was it Spartacus, I think, or the chariot races.
Yep.
So it's like,
yes.
Yes,
Ben-Hur
yes.
would be another one. Ben-Hur,
Yes.
really? Yes.
That's the other one. Yes, I did see Ben-Hur a long time ago. But yeah, so I mean, if you're one of the OG Star Wars fans, you're like, oh, it's space chariots. But for us, we're like, oh my god, this looks like NASCAR, but someone tells you it's space chariots. You're like, that's even cooler. So I mean, it spawned, its own video game. The Legos were really popular at that point for it too. It's just they did so well with being still in a kid zone for talking about really adult themes at the same time, if that makes sense. And me, like
Oh,
12
yeah.
or 13, I'm not an adult, but I'm not a child either. So it was a really good sweet spot for me. And so that's why I was like, I really did enjoy it. And it set the tone for me to say, okay, these are themes you want to look for when you're watching a movie because of the Phantom Menace. It's just,
Okay.
just the gut wrenching death of Qui-Gon. Just that never really got over that. It was just took the breath out of me when I saw that.
I get it. Listen, it was good and it was done well. And that's, I mean, I don't know how you don't include that in some of your, best lightsaber battles or best Star Wars moments. And this, all of
Yeah.
it works out well. And actually, I've said one of the reasons I can never get connected to Rebels and some of the stuff that they done was the fact that they bring Darth Maul back. Like I couldn't get my head around it. I can't do it. It's just like it's
Yeah.
almost like stuff like that. And I will say though, you're really hitting the nail on the head too, because my grandson, his gateway is the pod race. Like that was his first thing. Like he was really
Yeah.
attracted to. With my kids, it was lightsabers, right? Because we had the
Mhm.
OT, and that's what they were
Yeah.
used to seeing. They grew up on the. So, I mean, my daughter could tell you that she's grown up where she was 2 years old, just there playing. It would just be on, and over time, you start to realize that when there would be lightsabers or the music, what they'd be watching just for those moments. No idea story or
No.
whatever. It was
Yeah.
safe. There's no blood or anything like that. So it
Mhm.
always worked well. So they've always grown up on that. And then
Yeah.
whenever the new movies came along, that was like for them, they went to the theater and that opening sequence, whether people like it or not, with the lightsabers where they cut down droids like butter. My
Yes.
boys jumped out of the seats in the theater, acting like they had lightsabers, and everyone's watching them, not the movie. So yeah, they're prequel babies like on steroids. My son will say things like, the younger one will say things like, I like it for all the wrong reasons. Going, even though
Mhm.
I know like Attack of the Clones is not a very good movie, I love it because of the arena sequence or whatever. They'll talk about those movies
Yes.
as being very special because that's exactly what you're saying. You're saying, listen, I get there might be issues with it, but it's super special to me. Now,
It is. It is. And I think I never watched any of the animated series, and it's not animated, but the 3D versions of it. But I knew that they took a lot of that, especially when they're doing the Clone Wars and everything in there. There's a lot that they took kind of from the Phantom Menace and put that in there and kind of built a story from there on. So it's like, well, I see that it had a significant part to play, whether or not people like it or not. I'm pretty sure that's how Ahsoka wound up getting its own show, is because I think she was in the Clone Wars. That's
yeah.
how she was
So
introduced.
and again, the Clone Wars does date back to the original series, the original trilogy. It's just the fact that they were just these mentioned things. The Battle of the Clone Wars. When
Yeah.
Ben Kenobi's talking to Luke and fighting alongside your father in the Clone Wars, half of us at home are like, I don't even know what the Clone Wars are. What are the Clone Wars? What are the Clone? We didn't have any
Okay.
information, right? So, yeah.
Oh, you guys didn't know either.
No. So
Oh.
the best part. So again, for folks that haven't seen this, again, playlist will be in the description. You can go back and watch Star Wars Day of 2023, and there'll be moments where you can find us discussing all these different things, unpacking the incredible experiences of our youth and being, 6-year-old pops, not quite 7, seeing Star Wars for the first time. Imagine what you experience, Ego, but imagine a world where none of it ever existed. Like for us, sci-fi was sort of like frowned upon. The adults didn't like it. These are all just a bunch of weird creatures and whatever.
Mhm.
And yet we were in awe. And then to make it worse as a child, there are no toys. There are only books, trading cards, magazines, puzzles. There's no toys yet. Toys didn't come for I don't know if you knew this. Toys did not come until Christmas of 1978, a year and a half after the movie. It took that long for that market. Yeah.
I heard that, and that's what I heard about. It's like they didn't really know if there was going to be one. They're like, we just put the movie out. That's all you want, right? Like, no, we want the toys. That I remember. That's what I'd heard about it. That
Yeah,
it came out right after the movie.
didn't have lightsabers. You had a flashlight with this little piece of like a it was like a plastic that would go over the lens, so it would look like a red light or blue. So just everything changed because of Star Wars, and I think that's what today is about, is to discuss like a lot of those kinds of things. And for you, it was like, well, I kind of knew about the old movies. My dad sure liked them. And then when I saw Phantom Menace, my world changed because I realized, oh, well, there's a lot
Yeah.
of cool stuff in here. It's like, wow, this is really kind of cool. This is kind of neat. This is interesting. So I think that's what's really cool about this is, and I'm not going to bag on the sequel movies. I'm sure for some kids, seeing
Right.
Rey's journey or seeing lightsabers for the first time or whatever, oh, my dad and my uncle always loved all these other movies or whatever. Cool.
Right.
That's cool. More power to all of that. You know, whatever is what is a positive thing. Now,
Right.
after the fact, we can critique and we can argue and debate.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, and to be honest, I actually saw. I think I don't know if I saw 7, but I saw episodes 8 and 9. So I mean, even for me, it's like, well, I'll still be willing to give these new ones a try. It was kind of a little bit hard to watch, but it's like, well, hey, for somebody, this is going to be their gateway or their first introduction to Star Wars. So I can't totally really hate on it though.
I did. So, well, I didn't at first. I came out of. All I'm gonna say is when I came out of 8, when I came out of Last Jedi,
Yeah,
the auditorium was silent, and I'm like, "What is happening?" Like I didn't feel negative
I did
about
say
it.
that.
I just had like a
I
whole
did say
bunch of
that.
like, what is going on? And then I fought with my son for the time in between those two movies of 8 and 9 about how they have to have a plan. It's $1 billion franchise. It's going to work out. We would fan theory stuff, and I assure you that my fan theories with my child was better than the end result, and that is not a good place to be. But I'll say this: it's made everyone appreciate the good stuff of the old days and
Yes.
learn more and find out more. So that's why we
Yeah.
wanted to talk. That's why I wanted to chat about that kind of stuff. So what is Star Wars like for you now? And you're like, do you really watch it annually? You don't watch it every few years, maybe. I don't really have Star Wars merch. I don't really. Where are you at on your Star Wars stuff? Because you're one of the closest to a noob that I would have in my circles of like
That is
not really into. I mean, it's not you don't hate it. It's just your Star Wars is kind of like I am with Trek. People are always surprised I'm not like really more into Trek, and I'm like, no, I'm just now kind of rewatching and really getting in. Where are you at on your Star Wars stuff?
I will say this. I am like, if it's Star Wars adjacent and I can probably stomach it, I can watch it. Like my buddy Stuntman really loves The Mandalorian. He's been trying to get me to watch it for years, ever since it came out. So I mean, I know what they're gonna put out. They're putting out the movie, and I don't know if you heard that Sigourney Weaver is being approached to be in the movie as well now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? I would watch the show, watch The Mandalorian, up and to get ready for the movie for it.
Okay.
I have no problem with that. It's when you're in Star Wars, it's hard to be in Star Wars, and I think that when you try to have a show that is controversial in good ways and bad ways, because there's a lot of history behind it, and some people that are new trying to pick up the IP and may want to try to change it to something else, and there's a fight against it. For that reason, I purposely make myself wait like almost 2 months before I even start watching it, just because I want everyone that's going to critique it and say, "Oh, it's the best thing since sliced bread," or "Oh, it's terrible." I don't need any of that static in the way from it. So once that dies down, then I'll watch it for myself and see what I actually think. And I actually thought, it's like, hey, it wasn't as bad as people were making it to be. It's just I don't want to watch something because someone said, "Man, you gotta watch it. It's awesome." I mean, what do you think? I was like, "Hey, I'll watch it." And then maybe 6 months to a year later, I'll say, "You know what? That was actually a good idea. I'm glad you recommended it." So I would, if there's anything I'll try The Mandalorian at first, and maybe the some of the animated series that was out on Cartoon Network, because I heard that was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as far as I can try to go. I can't read the books or do the comics because it's like it's so much lore that I'd have to just immerse myself in, that I'm like, hey, I'll leave this to the experts, guys. I am the noob. I keep it noobs, guys.
But that's why I love Ego. He can be very self-aware, and he can be honest about his thoughts and opinions. Listen, all of his stuff's in the description as well, folks. Make sure you're subscribed. check him out. Great shows over there on what he does with his channel. They talk toys and great conversation with Mrs. Man, I tell you what, Shiro, she keeps him honest, man. Talk about a great couple on the tube, man. It's fun to watch them hanging out and doing their thing. So make sure you're doing that, folks. And listen, I hope you're having a good Star Wars day. I hope you've enjoyed us kind of cutting loose a little bit, hanging out about Star Wars from kind of a, lighthearted noob kind of perspective, because I think that's kind of where we kind of came at it from. And here's the thing, though. Find your lane. Have fun today. Find stuff that you're into. And, get on to the next show, next thing. Hopefully you'll enjoy some commercials and stuff after this. Take care, everybody. I am Pops. There it goes.
Oh, okay.
We're in.
Oh, this is becoming a blooper.
There it goes.
Oh, okay.
We're in. I don't know what it'll mean. We're in.
Okay.
We're going to keep this segment as like a blooper piece. Off behind the scenes is StreamYard has for 20 minutes refused to let us record. It kicked me out at one point where I froze my screen. It says your mic's not loaded. So for 20 minutes, StreamYard, you have cost us Star Wars Day content. There's my little outtake. Behind the scenes, do my little static, boop, and then my little landmine to the face. Yeah, that's kind of my trademark. I wish they hadn't screwed up so many of the face swapping AI stuff, because now they took away a lot of those things from you, right? You can't use a lot of those clips now, and it's like, yeah, Pops' face getting landmine to the face from Sisu would have been just it's gold.
Now, it's here. The excitement, the adventure of a new force at breakfast.
We'll call them C-3POs.
New C-3PO cereal from Kellogg's. Twin rings, phase together. For 2 crunches in every 00. A delicious part of this nutritious breakfast. Now you can experience the taste of Kellogg's C-3POs. A crunchy new force at breakfast.
May the Force be with you.
Star Wars Return of the Jedi is here. From it, Kenner brings you 65 incredible Star Wars action figures, each sold separately. And now, Kenner reveals yet another from the dark side of the Force, the Supreme Master, the Emperor, and he's yours free, just by sending 5 proofs of purchase from any Star Wars action figures to Return of the Jedi, Box 596, Young America, Minnesota. But hurry, this offer will end.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Everyone, we've got to save the Queen!
We're under attack! Mr. Jar Jar Binks come for comic relief.
Emergency landing on Tatooine.
No! Pod racing is with. Love you, Mom.
Love you, Padme. Oh no! Darth Maul! My brains are spilling out!
Oh, joy. The end.
This is the weirdest date I've ever been on. I'm out of here.
Go you must.
Farewell. Bye-bye.
Star Wars Episode 1 cans collect all 24 this summer.